Namaskar and very warm greetings to all members joining us from across this country. On behalf of the Committee for Members in Practice of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, I welcome you today for this important webinar on bridging the mindset gap, strengthening professional independence, and delivering on commitments. As practice chartered accountants, our work is to build on pillars of independence, integrity, and professional excellence. Today's session is specially curated to help us revisit these values and explore how to apply them more effectively in our daily practice. We are honored to have the leadership of the Committee for Members in Practice, CA Madhukar Hirgange, the chairman of the committee, and our distinguished speakers, CA Shilpi Jain, CA Ashish Chaudhary ji. Now, I would request our chairman, CA Madhukar Hirgange sir, to give his opening remarks.
Thank you, Priyanshu. Is it Shruti Jain or Shilpi Jain?
Shilpi Jain. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Priyanshu. So it's nice that all of you have joined today for one part of Bridging the Mindset Gap, which is a webinar series which we started on 1st of September. Every week we are continuing with one break, if I'm not mistaken. And we have got good speakers. Today, normally I give a small background about what the CMP committee has done till now and what it's planning to do for the rest of the year. But today I will request Alok, our secretary, or Priyanshu to do that in the end.
Sure.
This is because we have in Bangalore, we have one ethical standards board interactive meeting for which our Central Council member from Pune, Chandrasekhar Chitle, is here, and I'm going to join him shortly. So I welcome both the speakers and hope that listeners have a wonderful time. Please ask your questions and you will get very practical answers because I know both the speakers personally. I will hang on for about 2-3 minutes till the first speaker starts, and then Priyanshu, you may have to excuse me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So we are having our eminent speakers with us, CA Shilpi Jain. She's a respected expert in GST consultancy from Hyderabad. She has 11 plus years of specialized experience in GST and indirect taxation. She has advised clients across real estate, hospitality, pharma, manufacturing, and healthcare. She has spoken at major trade professional platforms, including FICCI, FLO, JPF. She writes for leading tax publications, including Chambers Journal. She co-authored books and guides on GST, including Practical Guide to GST on Automobile Industry and publications on real estate GST and new GST returns. She is known for making complex GST concepts simple, practical, and actionable practitioners. So I invite CA Shilpi Jain ma'am for and our second speaker, CA Ashish Chaudhary ji. He's a chartered accountant, a law graduate, company secretary, and CFA level 2 candidate, leader of the consulting and litigation practice for North India in an LLP company, regular counsel before the Custom Exercise and Service Tax Appellate Tribunal in GST, Customs, and Central Exercise matters. Contributors in the ICAI GST Litigation Handbook and author of upcoming book on Goods and Service Tax Appellate Tribunal. He's a speaker at 250 plus seminars and advisor of SGST departments of Uttarakhand and Bihar. His vast exposure to litigation departmental engagement and policy work gives him deep insights into professional conduct, documentation, discipline, and independence while representing clients. Now I request our first speaker of the day, Shia Shilpi Jain, madam, to take the session, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Priyanshu sir. First of all, I thank ICI for giving me this opportunity to talk on a topic which is not technical and something which is close to my heart as well, delivering on commitment. This is the topic that I'm going to speak on. So before we get into this, just requesting people that wherever I ask some response, if you can put it on chat, it'll be easier for me to look at it and then take it forward. So the topic that I'm going to speak on today is delivering on commitment. Okay. So I would simply call it keeping one's word. Okay. So if you can put on chat, what do you think it means? What does it mean to you when you hear the phrase delivering on commitment or simply keeping one's word? What do you think it would mean? So let's understand this phrase, put it in the right perspective, and then start moving, because I've prepared it from a certain perspective. So before I start, I would want to understand what you think and then give my thought, and then we'll proceed. So if we can have some responses, what do you think delivering on commitment would mean?
Ma'am, this is a one-side webinar.
Okay,
so
they won't be able
yeah.
to put it on chat also. Oh, fine. Okay, then I'll proceed accordingly. So how do I see it? Delivering on commitment is, doing what you say and saying what you do, right? So doing what you say, saying what you do. This is how I look at keeping one's word. Having understood what this could mean, right? With an example, it could be that, say, if you promise your child that today you are going to play with your child for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever time you promise your child. So just doing that, being with the child at that time that you have told your child you're going to play. That is it. It is as simple as that. So doing what you say. So before getting into why delivering on commitment is important, why it is required as a professional, be it in personal life also. Okay, so let's look at how it all started with me. There is a specific reason why I'm getting into how it had started with me, right? As we progress during the session, we'll understand. So what I would, it may sound a little childish, but believe me, many of our habits, our thought processes, our fears, our behaviors, why we behave a certain way, why different people behave differently for, certain things. It's all a product of something that was ingrained in us long, long back. We don't realize, but all this is a product of what has happened maybe during our early childhood days. Okay. So that's why I'm going to talk of something from my childhood. It may sound a little childish, but then that's a context that is required to be set before I move further. So how did this delivering on commitment get into me? If I can just look back at it, when we were small, we used to play a game of cards, which was called bluff, or rather 420 that it's called sometimes, 420, right? That's a game where cards are distributed amongst the players. The objective is to finish off all the cards that you're having in your hands, right? And you are allowed to bluff. That is, you're allowed to lie in that game. But the persons whose lie is caught will get the entire set of cards which is on the floor. So if I say I am putting across 2 kings, I put it upside down, right? No one is able to see what I've put. So another person says 5 kings, another person say 2 kings. If someone thinks the person is bluffing, he picks up those cards, and if it's a bluff, then he gets all the cards. So this is a game which is, played across. So I understand people will be aware of this. So when I was playing this, I realized that more than that moment, people were looking at who's putting the card, right? So it was someone, it was some of my cousin who generally keeps bluffing in life, generally when we are playing and all of that, right? So we generally pick up his cards to check most of the times. But if we know a Sida Sada guy who's there and he's played something, we know, okay, more or so he will be talking the truth. So then when I was playing that game, I designed a strategy, if I could call it. I used to feel, okay, let me speak the truth most of the times. 3-4 times in between, if I lie, it will be difficult for that person to understand, rather than always bluffing. So that was one way of doing that, which I did. One more example, if I can take, is if you look at the suspense movies or those serials like CID, right, where there is some suspense. Okay, what used to happen is, when we are looking at such a movie or a serial, and we find that episode being very good, or that movie being very good, in case we are not able to guess who the killer is or who the culprit is, right? And that more or less happens in a case where a guy who's very nice in the beginning, towards the end, until then, and at the end you find out, oh, for this reason he's done that. So there also, I always saw that the plot was in such a way that this person behaved really well, and at the end only something came up and it showed that, oh, actually this person was the culprit. So this also somewhere made me feel that, yes, it brought that message across, that you need to be really nice, honest, and all of that. So even if you put in some bad things in between, you won't get caught that easily. As a child, I used to think that. So this somewhere helped me to get on this journey in a way that, I started, using this to build my credibility as a child over the years. And I thought that maybe sometime, if I would have to lie, I can then be able to lie without getting caught. So I was honest. I used to keep my words, my friends, teachers, parents, people around me, and all of that. But then somewhere over the years, I saw that I never had to use that thing of lying, because this became a habit for me. I forgotten my initial strategy that I built as a child. As I said, I built this strategy to be honest or keep my word, to use it at a place where I may want to, lie or do something else. But somewhere this became a habit and I couldn't do it otherwise, right? So what does one get with it? Okay, you will be on time, you will be honest, you will keep your word. What does one get with by this? Why should someone keep his or her word? It's not usual that people do, generally, okay? In a majority, we don't see that happens. And if I say, for a reason that, if there are some people who feel, if I give a time that I will be there at this time, and if I reach at that time, then it makes someone feel less busy, less important. That is also a mindset which is there. So that could be a reason where in many places we say that things don't start on time. Or when there is someone who's supposed to come on time, doesn't come on time. Sometimes this is also there. So why is it at all important? Okay, so let's see why it is important. Like being on time. Generally, I am on time, be it being at office every day, or at office meetings, or even meeting friends. You wouldn't believe, at Hyderabad, when I had my wedding reception, the time that was given was 7:30 p.m. And we were on time, on stage at the venue, with 0 guests. So we were the people on stage, but there were no guests at all. And it was like too long back, when we never had this entry of bride and bridegroom and all of that. So we went on the stage and there was no one. Luckily, we got time, to click our photos. I think we took it that way, and we did click our photos and all of that. But it was really a thing, because I think I was lucky. I'm lucky enough to have people in my in-laws side as well who believe being on time is an important aspect. So many a times now, what happens when there are, any functions or anything which is there at my in-laws side, people know that these are people who will start on time, and these people will be on time. So it's better we be on time. So that's the kind of, I think, impression that the family has created. Also, once, there is one friend that I meet when I go to Chennai. So generally she's 20 minutes late most of the times. And I can say this 10 years back. So there was one time when I thought, okay, she's anyway 20 minutes late. Let me also be a little late this time. Maybe by 20 minutes I'll go late. So then the time that we had decided, I went 20 minutes late. My friend came 5 minutes after that only, but she was shocked. She said, "What happened?" She asked me what happened, why I was not on time, because she noted that I was always on time. Okay, so that was the time when I realized that actually people watch you, right? People start associating with you with that trait. Over a period, people watch you and they associate you with that trait. So if you've been on time, don't think that people are not looking at it. People are not noticing it. If you're not on time also, that's the same thing it applies to. Okay. So this is the thing which is there. So why it is important is people around you will start looking at you that way, right? You promise, say you promise to a client that you will give a deliverable by this time and you deliver, right? And this happens consistently. Say once or twice or thrice, you are not able to do it. Say you've promised you'll give it on time, but you are not able to do it, but you actually informed the client before that time. Say you said you will deliver by tomorrow, and you know today for sure that you will not be able to give it tomorrow for whatever reason, right? You inform the client before tomorrow that I'm sorry, I will not be able to do this. Whether you give a reason or not is another aspect, and say that I should be able to give it in another 2 days' time, right? It makes a lot of difference. Many a times I have done that, right? It's not that when I say I'm going to give it on this time, I have done. Many a times when I have called up my client and said, I'm sorry, sir, I will not be able to give this. Sometimes I've not given them reasons also because it was not worth giving. Okay? And many times I noted that the client was okay. Like, okay, no issues, ma'am. Thank you for calling. Okay, you can give it in 2 days, but try and give it within those 2 days. So at that time, what happens? This is with your clients, with your seniors, right? With your colleagues, even with your team members. Many a times what happens, our team members, juniors, we say, okay, you keep this ready. I will review it tonight, or I will get up in the morning and I will review it because this has to go to the client first half tomorrow. And when you do that, people around you know that you mean what you say, right? And with your seniors, there is this, they associate with you ownership, they associate ownership with you. They say ownership is high in this person, right? So the moment you start keeping your commitment, there are a lot of traits that get associated with you, right? There are a lot of traits that we talked of: being on time, ownership, credibility will increase, trust will become automatic. Trust is the most difficult thing, right, to gain, very easy to lose. So the moment your credibility increases, the moment your past behavior is there, right? Trust becomes automatic. You don't have to convince anyone about anything, right? You don't have to convince people that, okay, sir, you told me this, I will give it to you. Don't worry, I have a team of so-and-so people, this, that. You don't have to do all of that. Your past behavior will do that, right? And you don't have to explain anyone much. When you say something, it is taken for granted that you will handle it, right? So that becomes a part of you. That becomes, you also start creating that culture at work, at office. The environment becomes that way, right? So why should you keep your word? Because people are watching you. You start getting associated with certain traits, and aspects like trust become automatic for you, right? So that's an important aspect. Let's understand this even a little better, okay? The next aspect that I'm going to talk about is what would happen if you don't keep your word. So first we saw what it is, right? How did I develop that? Second, we saw why is it important, right? Third, what we are going to see is what happens if you don't keep your word. What happens? So you say something to someone, right? It could be your child, your staff, your juniors, your client, or even yourself, right? You say something. I'm not even saying you're promising. Just say something to these people, and you don't do it, right? Who do you think will create an impression about you that you are a person who cannot keep your word? You are a person who cannot do what is promised, right? So the moment we say something, think about yourself, think about your client. The person who will think cannot do what is said is fit not to promise anything. The first person is you, no one else, right? Neither your child, nor your staff, nor your client. The first person to realize this is you, right? So if I have told myself something that, okay, maybe tonight after dinner, I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk. I've not promised myself, I've just thought for whatever reason that, okay, I'm having some digestion problem. So maybe after my dinner, today I will go for a 10-minute walk. And if I don't do that, the first person who's going to even make that opinion about me is me, right? Because the others will take some time. They actually look at the pattern that is there, right? They will look at the pattern. Okay, this person this time didn't do, next time has done, this didn't do, and then they form that opinion. It takes some time. But with you, nothing is hidden, right? With you, nothing is hidden. Everything is open. About yourself, you will know the best. So you are the person who is watching every word of yours. So if I have to talk of myself, I am the person who's watching every word of mine. Sometimes even without knowing, subconsciously, I know what I'm thinking, right? Every deed of mine I'm watching. Every moment I'm watching, right? So one example, if I have to give, just very recently that happened, this Diwali, I had thought, again, I'm being very clear, I've thought, I've not even told anyone, I've not even promised to myself, right? During Diwali, just before Diwali, maybe 2-3 weeks before, I had thought to myself, okay, this time I have to do some cleaning at home, right? I could do half of it I couldn't do. That is maybe the cupboards which were on top, right? I couldn't do it for some reasons. And believe me, all of us are capable of giving a lot of reasons, and that to genuine reasons. So I have genuine reasons why I couldn't do that, right? But every time, though Diwali passed by, I couldn't do it, right? What I thought, I couldn't complete it. So every time when I was home and I saw those cupboards, it reminded me, and my subconscious was hitting me that I could not do this. When am I going to do this? It was always hitting me from the back. And say, with this happening, during this period, if something else I had thought or I had promised to myself at home or at office and I couldn't get that done, then again, there was another hit by my subconscious. Okay, you couldn't do that. And now it's again this, right? Say if I had thought to myself that this weekend, I'm going to try and clear my inbox, but I couldn't do for some reason. There was another hit on my head, right? I am an early riser, right? But in the past 1 month after this Diwali thing happened, slowly I saw that also started reversing. I couldn't get up early in the morning as I used to. So somewhere I realized, this also did hit me in my subconscious. I know this also hit me in my subconscious. So somewhere I knew things are not going in the right direction. And somewhere I knew I had to bring a change in this, what was happening, because one defeat, any more defeats was getting me even more low. It was getting me even more low. There's someone who's watching everything I do, and that's only me. So whatever was happening, the Diwali cleaning which I was doing, if I could, I wouldn't have done. No one in my family would have even told me anything, right? But my subconscious is there. Rising early, no one even knows what time I rise up in the morning. But if I don't do, my subconscious knows, and that's hitting me, right? So every time I say I'll do something and I don't, there is a witness, which is me. Every broken promise leaves a small scratch, not on my schedule, but on my self-trust. So as I said, the moment you start keeping your word, trust becomes automatic. But the reverse is also true, right? If you are not able to keep your word, you are the first person, your self-trust gets broken, right? So then when all this was going on, one day I told my husband that, I could not do this. I had thought I wanted to do this cleaning, but I couldn't do. So somewhere I think, I needed help to pull this off, because I know other things are not falling in place. So somehow 2 weeks later, we were able to get help. All of us pulled that off. We were able to clean it. Even though I was unwell that day, I ensured I put this through. Okay. And the feeling for me was amazing, because I knew that was one thing which was hitting my subconscious, and when I could finish it off, actually the feeling was amazing. And surprisingly, on that day itself, there were a lot of unfinished stuff which I got finished. As somewhere I feel that I got confidence that I could do what I thought I wanted to do, right? So just that one block, if I could remove, I saw that I was able to move out a lot of other blocks. So what I'm trying to bring across here is every time you honor your word, your self-respect grows. Okay, your inner voice start telling you that yes, now I can rely on myself. Self-esteem that we're talking about, right? Self-esteem that we're talking about is not built by external compliments or validations. It is actually built by these small private victories that nobody sees, right? So if you said to yourself that you would be with your kid today at 7 p.m., maybe at school for an annual day, or if you said to yourself that you would go for a 10-minute walk in the evening, or you said to yourself that you will speak to your mom today, please do that, right? So concentrate more on what you are talking to yourself. That's where you start. Okay? That's where you start building this habit. You start honoring these small things and you'll see it will make a lot of difference to you. There is this compounding effect which is talked about. Okay, so compounding effect is where you improve 1% every day. We're not looking at a big sea change, right? It's not possible. Changes by nature are very slow. If you look at a tsunami or diamonds being formed, it's a very slow process in nature. Nothing changes overnight, right? So the same way compounding effect is, you look at improving 1% every day. If you calculate, you'll actually be 37 times better by the end of the year. 37 times, not 37%, 37 times better, right? Same works with negative aspects as well. The moment your subconscious starts hitting you that, oh, you were not able to do this, you're fit for nothing, you weren't able to do this, even a small thing, right? So it hits hard by the end of the month. You are broken almost. That's why people say that when you wake up, please make your bed. That's the first success that you have in the day, and then the day goes well. That's one of the reason why they say so small wins are very important. So even though the outside world may think you are less busy, that is, if you say you're going to be on time and you are on time, even though the outside world may think you're less busy, but what you will think about yourself will be really important, and that's what is going to matter to make you or break you, right? When you keep your word to yourself, you stop doubting about your own capabilities. The moment you start keeping your word, you stop doubting about your capabilities. So that's about why it is important. It is not important to show people that, okay, you are a person who can keep your word, you are a person who does what you say, you're a person who's on time. No. More than all of that, it is about you. It is about what you will feel about yourself. It is about what your self-esteem would be, right? So that's the point which I wanted to bring it across. So the question that now comes is, say if there's someone who's not able to keep his or her commitment. Okay, so many a times we come across people who say, I planned to get on a routine to at least go for a half an hour walk or go for a half an hour workout, but somehow I'm not able to do it. Okay, so could be various other things, health, being at office, with children or anything, right? So can it happen in one day? The answer to all of this is start small, right? It's very important to start small. So it's about making it a habit. There is a book written by James Clear, Atomic Habits, right? So if you're able to get your hands onto that book, I would suggest everyone to read that book. That can change your life. So that's one recommendation that I have. So it's about making a habit, right? Anything that you want to change, make it a habit, concentrate on that first, right? So don't make big promises, at least in the beginning. So instead of saying I will clear my inbox, say I will clear 10 mails a day. Or by the end of this week, I'll get my inbox to 500 mails or whatever number you think is a little easy to get onto, right? Do this with yourself first. Okay. So if you've said you will clear 10 mails a day, do it. You will see that these small wins is what is going to take you to where you want to be. And in case you derail, right? So if you've said something to yourself, somewhere it got missed, right? It's okay. Start again. Start by keeping small promises. You will get back on track and start moving, right? Even in that book which is there, James Clear, this Atomic Habits. So he says you make habits which are easy to do. It should not take you more than 2 minutes to do. So if you are looking at writing a book, say that every day at least I'll write 2 sentences, right? 2 sentences you will write. That's not going to take you much time. If you're going to write, if you're going to go for a walk, start with 10 minutes, start with 5 minutes. It's okay, right? So you start small. The small wins will take you a long way. Instead of saying that, okay, I'm going to write a book this weekend, I'm going to write 50 pages. It's not going to happen. And the moment you say I'm going to write 50 pages and you're not doing it, your subconscious is going to hit you. It's going to say you're fit for nothing, you're not able to do anything, this, you forget about it. And this is going to have a toll on all your other things, not only the book, everything else in life, because you have already made an impression about yourself that, okay, I'm fit for nothing, just making those promises, momentary promises, and not being able to fulfill that. Okay. So once you do this, slowly, when you start making a habit, your impression about yourself will change. You will get confidence that you can do things, right? So then waking up when you want to wake up, right? You promise, or you feel that yes, you will get up by 6 a.m. You promise that you will do some work, like your book work is there, or you're writing an article, or you have to record a video. It will happen. Being prepared when you committed to be prepared. So if you have a session and you say that, okay, I'll be prepared at least 3 days before the session so that I have some time to prepare better. Okay. So it will all follow. So start small is the message. Start small, get those wins. That will give you momentum to keep moving forward and achieve the bigger ones. Right? I have experienced all of this, and this I'm telling out of the experience that I have. Okay. Another important point is the moment you're able to keep your commitments, it reduces your stress. Nothing hangs over your head. Nothing hits you. As I said, when I used to see those cupboards, it used to hit me. I wasn't able to do. I don't know when I will be able to do it next, right? So the moment you keep your commitment, nothing hangs over your head. You sleep better. Your mind stays clearer. So this is another aspect that is there. Okay, important point. Also, there will be some days where you're overwhelmed, right? You don't know what's happening, but you're just feeling a little uneasy, of you're not very happy with the things, happy with the way things are going. Your mind is crowded. And during those days, if you actually go back and look at the reasons or write down, what is it that is troubling you, you'll actually see that there are some small things that are undone. That's something that you have told yourself and thought to yourself or to someone else that you couldn't do. All this actually crowds your mind. If you sit down to write, you will note that at least 50% of the things are those which you can finish in within 2 minutes. And they may not be very important also sometimes, but the fact that you thought you wanted to do it and you couldn't do it itself crowds your mind. You form an opinion about yourself that you can't pre-plan. You always firefight. You cannot keep your word. You cannot do what is planned. So all these things crowd up your mind, stopping you from doing or achieving what bigger things that you've planned for your life. Okay. Because of this, there are many things we are not able to achieve. Be it ideal weight, being spending time with family, being professional goals, and many other things. So somewhere when we are looking at achieving our bigger goals, it is these small wins that will sum you up to your bigger goals. Okay. So till now, what we've seen is keeping your commitment, right, will create your credibility. People will start looking at you. People will start associating trust, ownership, and various other traits with you, right? You will start creating the change. That is also going to be the moment you start behaving a certain way, you will also see the change around you. That's also another point which is there. Okay, having said all of this, one could also say that there is some disadvantage with this. Okay, now today what happens? If I'm not very much, very much concentrating on whether I'm able to do what I say, I'm able to promise big stuff, okay, whether to myself or to my kids or to my clients or my goals that I put. I'm able to put big stuff in all of that. And, sometimes when we were small, we've always heard this part, you target for the sky, you at least reach the tree. So that's something which lingers around in many of the people's head. So here I just want to bring one differentiation, right? Vision or goal vis-a-vis the steps that you take to reach the vision or your goal. Okay, vision is something that you want to have. It's not something that you thought you will do, right? Someone could have a vision that after 5 years, I'm owning a Mercedes, right? Or I'm owning my dream home, or I've reached my ideal weight or my health condition, whatever it could be. So vision is something that you're looking, you wish to have. Just putting across the vision, which could be a 5-year or 10-year vision. Okay. So then you also look at what is it that you're going to do today about it. So if you're looking at 10 years down the line, I want a Mercedes, or 5 years down the line, I want a Mercedes, to own a Mercedes or a dream house. So today, what is it that you're going to do? By 3rd year, where should I be? By 2nd year, where should I be? By 1st year, what should I be? And then the monthly plan, and then daily, right? So then you put down the steps that you take. Okay, so I say, okay, at least let me meet 2 of my clients this week. So because you need money, right? No, so you're in practice. So you feel that, okay, somewhere my practice, I'm going to take from this level to that level. So for that, I need to add clients. I need to meet people, which could be clients or it could be networking. Or I'm looking at setting up another area of practice. So I need to study. I need to attend some sessions. I need to build my knowledge over this. So that could be your game plan, right? And to achieve this game plan, now you put down the steps, right? You say, okay, this week I'm going to meet 2 people. This month, I'm going to do this particular course, which is there. And then you'll have a second month plan, 3rd month plan, right? So these plans that we're talking of are the steps that you are telling yourself you will do. If you don't do that, that is going to hit your subconscious. But vision is not something that you've said I will do. Vision is something you wish for, right? So someone could say, okay, if I start doing if I start, keeping a close watch on what I say and then do accordingly, maybe my vision will be small. No, it need not be. Vision is different. Maybe the steps that you want to take will be small, right? In the beginning. That is, you said you'll meet 2 clients or you'll attend this session, you'll do this, you'll get this diploma or whatever. That will be small because in the initial period, you're looking at wins. Wins are more important than the quantum of the progress. As we already saw, the wins are going to give you self-confidence, self-esteem to help you to take bigger steps later, right? So this is a differentiator, that vision is separate and what steps you want to take is separate. And now that is about dreaming big or small. So just because you're going to look at keeping your word need not mean that your vision is going to be small. Though there could be one, this thing, is that your steps themselves will be small. So you will say, okay, I'm not going to promise that I'll meet 10 clients. I will tell myself that I will try to meet 2 clients. So maybe that's a disadvantage, because if you were your normal self, you would have said, I'll meet 10 clients and at least 4 you would have met. And there's also a possibility, if you say 10 clients, you would have met 0, because 10 is a very big number. Kahan se start karu? Where will I go? It could also be 0, right? In this case, what happens, as I said, you will start with small wins. You will say, I'll meet 2 clients. You will take a number that you can do it at first. Let it be even 1 client. You say, I will meet 1 client this week, right? You do it. That's a small win. Next week, you promise 2, you do it. That's another win. Next week, 3, that's another win. So as your wins increase, your confidence increases, right? So even though initially your progress will be slow, you will see that there will be a progress. Over a period, you will get confidence. You would have created your own credibility for yourself, your own trust, right? You would have created that for you. And then over a period, you will realize that you would have become a person who's so obsessed that what you say, you will do it, be what it may take. So over a period, then once you say that this time I'm going to, meet at least 10 people, because you're going to attend a session, or for some reason you are going to meet 10 people. If it doesn't happen, now you know that you're a person who can do it. Maybe you will be able to pull off much bigger things easily, because your trait itself has become that way, that you do things what you say. You've got that ingrained in you, so that this is where it comes, that you will promise big and you will actually do what it takes to do it. So though initially it may look as a disadvantage, that because you are more concentrated on fulfilling what you say, you may start promising small. But over a period, when you develop that trait, you will transform. You will become a person who will do what is said. So in the beginning, if you remember, when I said keeping commitment means what? Keeping your word means what? Doing what you say, saying what you do. Right? So doing what you say. The moment you say this, you will actually do it. That will become your trait, and it will actually transform the way you look at things. So one need not think that just because we are more concentrated on doing what we say, we will start promising smaller things. Over a period, it will change. You will realize that even when you promise bigger things, you are a person who is able to pull it off. It will happen. Okay. So if I can summarize whatever I have just spoke, is that keeping word is important because you are the person who's watching. You are the person who's creating a view about yourself, your self-esteem, your traits. It's something that you are creating about yourself, which is most important. Okay. Second is start small. It's not necessary that you look at from today onwards, whatever I say, I will have to do it. No, start small. Try to please make it a habit, at least with yourself, that if you think you will do something, start small and try to do it. Small wins are going to help you get bigger ones. Create your own credibility. When you start with yourself, you're able to do it. You create your own credibility with yourself, right? So then the self-esteem that you create will be in a totally different level. After this, you've started small, you've made it a habit. It'll be easy for you to pull off bigger things in life. You will be able to achieve your goals, family, professional. You will be able to change your impression about yourself, with yourself and others. You will be able to bring the change around you. Traits like ownership, trust, all of that gets associated with you. So though it may look something which is a little difficult to, start off with, but try to start off small, as I mentioned, and you will see that you will be able to move towards the final steps that you're looking at. So I'll close my session with this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Shilpi ma'am, for this such a thoughtful insightful session, what you have given us today. And I think so, what all you have shared makes a lot of sense in defining that successful practice. And if this consistency one can simply encode in the daily lifestyle or life cycle, what any professional follows, then certainly the results will be quite expected. So thank you once again for joining us. I just want to understand from you if we can take up questions now, or maybe after our next speaker, Ashish ji, finishes first, and then we can take up the queries.
Anyway, it should be okay.
Okay, fine. So we will take up the queries all together after the conclusion of the session by our next speaker. So let me now introduce you to our second speaker of our day, CA Ashish Chaudhary ji. Thank you, sir, for joining us today. And it is our privilege to invite you in this series of Bridging the Mindset Gap. Let me introduce myself because I have also joined just after Shilpi Madam. My name is Alok Jha. I am Secretary to Committee for Members in Practice. And we are fortunate to have the leadership, CA Madhukar Hirgange and CA Satish Gupta ji, who has given us, in fact, conceived this idea that why this mindset shift is very much important. Because the committee has taken up various initiatives, especially while bringing up that shift from compliance mindset to more towards the consultancy one. And there are various structured workshops, programs which have been curated in different disciplines: GST, litigation, customs, FTP. Today, we also have the privilege to roll off our real estate consultancy faculty development program. So this is again a very interesting area where the committee has developed a complete workshop of 7 days at 4 p.m. At the same time, we have kicked off with this FDP, which will be running for 5 days, so that we can have some standardized delivery expected in our workshop, which will soon be open in the month of December, as we see a lot of potential is there in the real estate sector as well. So coming back to the point as to why this mindset series is needed is because all these initiatives which the committee has taken, we still find that it is not simply that we expect our members to just join and listen to what all our eminent speakers are sharing with them. But most important is when you will start implementing it in your day-to-day life. And that's the reason we started with this unique series in which we are inviting all our experts to join us and to share that one important value, habit, attitude, whatever you want to name it, which can help us understand as to what is that which differentiate them from the other lot. So this was the main idea behind this series, and I am privileged to now introduce our second speaker, C. Ashish Chaudhary ji, who is with us. And our speaker is a distinguished professional known for his clarity of thought, litigation expertise, and contribution to indirect tax jurisprudence. He's chartered accountant, law graduate, company secretary, and CFA level 2 candidate. He's leader of the consulting. He's leader in consulting and litigation practice and regular counsel before the Customs, Excise and Service Tax Appellate Tribunal in GST, Customs and Central Excise matters. Contributor to ICI's GST litigation handbook and author of the upcoming book on Goods and Service Tax Appellate Tribunal. Speaker of 250 plus seminars and advisor to SGST department of Uttarakhand and Bihar. So his vast exposure to litigation, departmental engagement, and policy work gives him deep insights into professional conduct, documentation, discipline, and independence while representing clients. So thank you so much, Ashish sir, for joining us today. Now, before taking much of the time, may I request you to please share your insights, your practice insights mainly, which can provide some roadmap to us, some learning roadmap to us and all our participants who are joining in great numbers. Over to you, sir.
Yes, so Alokji, if you can confirm if I'm audible.
Yeah, you are audible, sir.
So thanks a lot, Alokji, for my introduction, and I would thank first of all CMP committee for taking this wonderful initiative, because when we are looking at these life-making skills and the experience what various professionals are sharing, those happen to be real-time, real-life experience. And as a professional, if you look at as a chartered accountant, which traditionally have been more known to be an audit or assurance professionals, but over a period like what Alokji also mentioned, that committee itself is coming up with various programs to enable the members from compliance to consultancy. And when we are moving to that direction of professionalism, it certainly requires each one of us to continuously inculcate, nurture new habits, which are, I would say, proven habits, which are more contributing towards our success in this our professional life. So, various sessions, what the topics have been shared with us, I think those have been marvelous, and many of the greatest professional of our community have shared their word of wisdom with us. While all traditional sessions of institute primarily happen to be on developing the subject skills, I would certainly rate this series, which doesn't have any uh, pre-prescribed curriculum or nothing of that sort, but it is more of sharing the life learning, professional experiences of the professionals. And if, let us say, out of each of the session, if we are able to take up maybe one or two points and implement in our professional life, that itself, I think, could make a significant difference in our professional journey. Maybe before I start on this part, I think many of us know that uh, professional or business coaches itself is a very uh, big professional opportunities. Okay, so many time, in fact, in our firm, the partners are always advised to take up the professional coaches, because, like when we talk about Sachin Tendulkar, he himself might have been a very good player, but he always needed a professional coach who could guide him, who could improvise wherever some mistakes uh, are being done. So the objective is that for furthering a person in his professional and personal life, there need to be some guidance, and that guidance sometimes could be very invaluable for that individual. This series of ICI, which I would say by people who are delivering the session, himself being the chartered accountant or the professionals of this field, they can really understand what are the shortcomings or challenges or limitations among the professional, and may possibly and positively contribute in enhancing their skill set. So in this journey, in this direction, today's topic for our discussion is more of strengthening professional independence. How do we strengthen, how do we develop, how do we ensure that we have independence while performing our professional duties? So, overall, if you look at the direction in which profession is moving, or maybe before I take up this professional independence, we need to actually see the difference between what is the business, what is the profession, and in what direction this entire practice profession is moving. So, when we look at the business, business is always traditionally looked at, and in the present world also, where the objective is to maximize the wealth of shareholder, either by way of increased sales or increased profit and all those things. But when we talk about the professionals, so whenever it happens to be a professional, the objective, first and fundamental objective, is to serve the other person, to serve the client. In the process of serving the client, we certainly continue to earn as a part of that service delivery. And if you look at the value system, what we have been talking of in this entire series, if we are able to inculcate those value system, certainly our earning itself could be very well ahead of a normal professional, because in the course of serving itself, when other party feels that there is a what you call a professional service with not the prime objective of making money by the professional himself, but more to support the client, to serve the client, to take the client out of the problem, that itself gives you a financial reward also. So if you look at another example in the medical profession, so doctors always have or used to be more of as a profession, but gradually when we are seeing large number of multi-specialty hospitals, etc., are getting developed, it is gradually moving towards the business, where the first objective becomes for a listed hospital company to maximize the market cap or the profit of the hospital, sometimes maybe at the cost of the patient also. Gradually, sometimes it appears that the profession of our community is also moving towards that direction, where our objective sometimes become to get as much as possible, to earn as much as possible. And in that pursuit of higher earning, sometimes we end up sacrificing the professional values, what we need to have as a part of our professional journey. But this important point for all of us to understand is that it is not that by sacrificing the values only we can earn. It is actually the serving the client with the value system that will create a long-term legacy of your practice, of your firm, of your organization, where it becomes more of an eternal organization rather than a person or the partner or proprietor driven firm which is focusing only on making money for himself or for the immediate future. So in that direction, this professional independence is one and very important aspect what we always need to keep in mind. In fact, if you look at ICAI Code of Conduct, while it talks about the professional independence, its role, scope, what are permitted areas, risk flag areas in respect of the assurance vertical, or I would say taking up the client for other services, non-assurance services for an assurance client. But if we talk in the context of the consulting itself, or maybe litigation itself, or maybe other service areas which are not of the assurance nature, the professional or the standard of ICAI doesn't talk much about the professional independence in those cases. So as a part of our curriculum or as a part of our practice, we would have always listened this thing more from the audit standpoint. So while whatever the institute standards provide for the independence in case of audits, the same set of standards with suitable modification, with less rigorousness, but more of, I would say, having the inbuilt high professional independence as a part of quality of we being a professional, that could significantly contribute in our professional growth and journey. So when we look at independence, what does overall this independence mean? In fact, maybe before, one more thing, like what we talked about the audit standard. Similarly, the CMP committee is coming up with the consulting standard also. What the consulting people who are engaged in the delivering the consulting engagement, what type of standards they are recommended to follow. They should look at following. So those may not necessarily be standard, but maybe more of a guidance point. So independence certainly is a very important guidance point for any professional, be it assurance or the non-assurance. So when we talk about independence, what does this mean in the professional context? So it has basically two independent aspects in this. First is the independence is a state of mind. When we talk about the state of mind, it means the mindset of a professional wherein he is capable of forming an independent opinion about a transaction, about a situation, about a particular set of facts, what are put before him. Second aspect of independence, if we look at it, is not only the state of mind, that is more of integral inner part of somebody. It is the independence in perception also, independence in appearance also. What is the external perception of the people as to independence of a professional, to what extent he is independent or not. So maybe, for example, if you look at we more being in the consulting and litigation side, so my example could be more linked to that particular field, but certainly those things can suitably be applied to other side of the practice also. So when we look at independence as a state of mind, so there could be possibility that sometime the client, or in fact, if we talk about maybe as a part of our office practice since beginning, what we had for initial many years, that we never used to reach out any of our non-contact or any of our friends or any of our family members for the purpose of serving them. What was the core objective? While we were never in the assurance field, but this particular philosophy has been followed in the firm since beginning, to make sure that if there is somebody who is my friend, if he is my family member, then there could always be possibility then that when I am serving that particular organization, business, I may not be fully independent. My relationship with that person could possibly influence me in giving an unbiased and independent view. So that is where I would say the policy we had followed for quite a long time since beginning. So here, because the other person knows me, he is quite well friend of mine or family member, and I know that I need to do something which can possibly increase his profit or can give him some advantage. I may possibly cross what we call as a Lakshman Rekha, and accordingly I may possibly compromise on my independence and end up giving the views or solution or the taking decision on their behalf, which never would be expected from an independent profession. In fact, if you look at sometimes what happens in the new age consulting field, sometimes when we are consulting to the client, a new startup could possibly have come up. So sometimes it is seen that the professional, instead of taking full amount as fees, certain percentage of equity is taken from the startup, because that startup in the initial phase may not be in that position to pay the full fees or so, or the startup may look at you as a value-added advisor and would always look at that if you could come with them as a part of invested, or I would say skin in the game, then certainly they look at you compensating you by way of giving you part of equity capital also. I'm not talking of assurance client, but non-assurance. So once you are invested with the client, once you have full skin in the game, then again it is a state of mind where you cannot be independent, because you know that when the money, what you yourself have put up money in that client business. So anything what leads to the failure of the client, or I would say the lesser success of client, could possibly affect your return on investment. So that is another situation where I would say independence as a state of mind could certainly come. Maybe another example, if you look at, let us say somebody is, some client is implementing some Ind AS and the client is looking for some professional who could guide them in strategizing, implementing that entire Ind AS. And subsequently, let us say if that particular professional himself is taking up the audit of that client, provided if it is permitted by the statute or the ICI Code of Conduct, then certainly there may not be independence, because whatever I had advised in the past, there could possibly some unintended mistakes might have committed in that particular thing. But when I am auditing, I may possibly tend to overlook those things, because that could highlight my own failure of proper advice in the past. So all these things are there where there could be many other examples what could come in our professional life, where as a state of mind, we are not independent. And in the absence of that independence, maybe possibly we cannot give the opinion or give the view which is independent in all the aspects. When we talk about independence in appearance or perceptional independence, sometimes what happens, many of our professional colleagues who have been in the industry and have served at very senior position also, sometimes there is always zeal or willingness to start on practice. So people retire from the industry and start their practice, and first thing what normally is being looked at, that the same entity, if that can be made as our client. Now, if you look at that particular proposition where you have served so long in that company, and now when you are providing service to that particular client, there could always be a thought process that while you may be fully independent in all your decision making, okay, but because you have been so closely associated with that organization over a period of time, there could be a perception that because of your long association with that business, possibly there is compromise to the perceptive independence. Okay. Sometime I would say there could be another example, let us say as a part of litigation also. When you are representing before any adjudicating authority or any officer, and there could be possibility of that officer is, I would say, your distant relative or your friend or something, and you are representing the case before that particular officer. Okay, so while you may have very good success rate when arguing before that officer, because it is not only the merit of the case, you being known by him or you being, I would say, closely having relationship with him, there could be weightage of that relationship by the officer. And that could possibly, I would say, when looked at by the other people in the department also, they will always feel that this gentleman is getting continuously favorable order, not necessarily based on the merit, because he is connected to the officer in some way or other. Tomorrow, when let us say that officer gets transferred and some new officer come, at that point of time, there could always be a prevalent message in the department that or the incoming officer can always would always be knowing that earlier this used to be the practice of this professional. So it is not a situation where you were not independent from the state of mind, but it was the perceptional difference where your independence was perceived to be, or you were perceived to be not a fully independent professional. And that is why if you look at in the court practice, so if somebody, let us say, has been acting as an advocate in the past and he has handled any client, and subsequently when that person is elevated to judge, and if that client's matter comes, he is excused from that particular thing, so that there is no professional conflict, there is no compromise on the independence of that judge while giving verdict in that particular matter. Okay, so that itself is an inbuilt ecosystem in the judiciary process, but certainly while it is inbuilt part of that process, but as a professional, it is not only that stage, but at all the stages possibly we need to look at for that particular independence. Maybe I'll take one or two more examples. Sometimes what happens that client comes to us and client asks us to give a written professional opinion. on some of the matter, or maybe structuring of some transaction or something. Now, let us say there are diverse possible views on that matter, where the matter is not yet settled in the court. And in that situation, you are asked to give opinion to the client. While giving the opinion, we always need to look at to what extent we can step into the shoes of client. Because normally it is felt that unless I own the problem, I can't give the solution. So if I put myself in the position of the client, I can understand the problem or the challenge being faced by that businessman, and then possibly my solution can be a better solution. That is one thought process. But if I look at in this thought process, there could be a challenge also. Once you are fully invested with the client, once you step fully into the shoes of client, there could be a vested interest. You can possibly look at maximizing the short-term interest of the client, ignoring if your advice could have possible long-term or medium-term adverse consequences for the client. So in your consulting practice, you could possibly come across various such situations where you need to somewhere find a stage where you need to separate from the client, because if you get too much involved, as I mentioned, it could possibly, or you could possibly taking up a decision which is not in line with the law. So as a professional, what is expected from us? What should we look at? So here, how our approach should be that we are as a professional required to equip the client for taking their decision. Equipping the client means what are things in the pros, what are things in the cons in taking a particular decision. We need to equip that particular, I would say, things to the client. And the final decision in that situation, what decision should be taken? That decision has to be taken by the client. We should, as a professional, never take decision on behalf of client for the client. Our role, our job, our professional responsibility is to give opinion to the client, covering all the relevant aspects which will give the client to take a business decision, but we should never end up in taking the decision for the client. Because tomorrow it could happen that while your decision could be very well for the short term or so, but in the long term, if something backfires, you would professionally be held accountable. A client may possibly sue you that you had taken decision on our behalf. And more specifically, if you look at maybe bigger corporates and all those things, so there the responsibility could be, I would say, manifold, which possibly financially we may not sustain. So here we have to be very importantly, I would say, keeping a distance. So while you are evaluating the problem statement for the client, there you step into the shoes of client to find all the positives and negatives. But once you reach to all that situation where you fully get the facts and pain problem, thereafter, while giving your view, there you need to be independent. There you can't give a biased view. So that is what I would say independence would require to us. What this independence will bring to the table for us as a professional, I think independence is one thing which brings a lot of credibility of ours with the client. How does it bring? So today there could be possibility of that the client you are serving has a particular CFO and you have given a view. And that view you have given after a full, in the independent state of affairs, everything keeping on record, documented and submitted to client. After maybe there could be possibility of that the CFO or the businessman did not necessarily take the decision basis your advice and take some other decision or diluted version of your opinion. And after maybe some years, something adverse happens. And at that point of time, there could be possibly change in the people who are in charge of the governance of the organization. Because you were independent on the first day, because you had put across your views very clearly, because you did not take any decision, I would say, on behalf of client, but the decision was of the management. Subsequently, because of your independence being exhibited today, you could possibly be reprieve, or I would say possibly defend yourself if anything unforeseen happens. And that is actually where the, I would say, the credibility gets established with the client, and it doesn't come for one transaction or I would say a particular point of time, but it comes over a period of time. While this, I would say, independence is with the client, sometimes as a part of our professional duties, it is not only the client, but also the regulators we are dealing with. So many of our professional brothers who are dealing in maybe taxation matters or SEBI related matters or other matters where they are required to have a very important conversation with the officers also. So there also, if while when the client is appointing you to defend the case to the best interest, to the best of their interest. But we need to keep in mind that when we are defending the case of client, we should not come to a situation where we end up taking any decision, any action, any supporting evidence, representing the wrong facts, or anything which is not expected to be done only because we wanted a favorable outcome for the client. While you may possibly win that particular case, but the biggest challenge what you would end up doing in this particular situation is erosion of trust of regulators on you. And because it is while you are representing a case for a particular client, dealing with the regulators is going to be, dealing with the tax department is going to be your routine affairs. And if you are able to deal with the officer also independently and with honesty, they will always feel that yes, this professional or this person is of true professional, where whatever he speaks, that is true. There is no requirement of independent validation of it. Maybe I'll just tell you a simple example of today itself, where I was before a DGGI officer. It was going on with respect to a particular matter. So there we had communicated to them, sir, that if anything coming from our office or from my side, it would be fully transparent. There is nothing going to be which would be hidden from you. The officer was new in the city in that particular post, but what the officer told me that, sir, when you are representing the case, you need not tell it because we have already inquired it from the market. There has been 360-degree inquiry about your professional conduct. And we know that whatever you would be speaking, you would be telling, that will be the truth. And that will be fully independent, not, I would say, tainted with or biased with the views of the client. Can you believe that these type of words from the officers or regulators, these things do not come overnight. And when we are representing the matter before the regulators, certainly any matter represented by the professional having that level of professionalism is always expected to have higher level of acceptance by the officer. Even if officer doesn't go through your file fully, but if you speak anything, he would take you on the face value, because there you have been able to establish your that particular independence. So this brings the credibility with the clients. This independence brings the credibility with the regulators, and I would say it is that independence also brings the credibility of an employee-employer relationship also, where if you are independent in everything, while okay, sometime as a let us say myself working as an employee, sometime to my boss or employer I may look at a bit arrogant, but if I'm independent, sooner or later, somewhere or other, my that value would be recognized, perceived. So that brings a lot of credibility in terms of independence. So if you look at while we are speaking about the benefit of the independence, but it is very important that how do we inculcate this entire habit of the independence. So maybe I think some of the best practices, what I would say commonly one could follow, one should look at as a part of individual or as a part of organization. So the first thing what we should always look at is the avoiding conflict of interest. Okay, that is very important part. So how could or what could be the potential ways in which the conflict of interest could arise? So maybe some part we already discussed. Maybe one thing could be self-interest, wherein we ourselves, as we discussed, that some financial or other interest we have in other person, which could possibly influence our judgment. Self-review. So I am doing the accounting as well as the audit of that client. I am doing compliance for the client, and I am defending that matter before the court. So where my work done in the past is being subjected to my review only, in that situation, it certainly brings an element which could compromise the independence. Then maybe another thing could be maybe advocacy, unless, okay, while being an advocate or a professional representing the litigation forum, certainly we need to promote the client's view within the legal framework. But if you look at from the consulting and other angle, we should avoid the advocacy where we promote the client's view by not becoming the objective. We need to be objective and independent. Next could be familiarity. So again, I would say, as we spoke, personal relation with client. So many times, I would say again, if I take an example that in our office, majority of partners, so many of our clients, we develop over a period very good relationship. Client might have some ceremony, some function, some program at their home or this thing, and they do invite us. But we always keep the distance that not to visit the client in their personal affairs. Because anyway, over the period, you end up developing a personal relationship with the client, but it should not reach to a level where it affects your independence, either state of mind or your perceived independence with that client. Similarly, with the officers or this thing, we should never look at getting into so much intimate relationship that that familiarity itself brings a compromise to the or perceived compromise to the independence. Then maybe another conflict of interest could be intimidation. So that could be like threats of removal or non-payment by the clients. So sometime what could happen that one of your client is paying 20% of your total fees. And in that situation, because that is a significant client for you, there could always be possibility of we not being independent, because always we may have a threat that if the client goes, it could substantially affect your practice. Okay. Similarly, I would say maybe I'll just take one small example here also, that when in GST 9C used to be certified by chartered accountants. So as a practice, we used to tell the client that these are the liabilities in your case. In these cases, legal defense could be available, but in these cases, it is short liability. You need to discharge it liability, else we will report it. So in one of the case, a particular client said we will not pay it and will not discharge it. So in that situation, you can possibly stop your engagement. We told the client, okay, we have done our effort, so maybe for the part of our effort, we can bill it to you. While objective was not to get the professional receipt, but when it was spoken, the client reacted very unprofessionally. That led us to a view wherein we, while maintaining our independence, communicated it to the board that this is the situation, what is happening. In that situation, we will not continue with the engagement, but the real facts we had put across before the board. So the board reverted to us, asking us to continue the engagement. They agreed to discharge the liability what we had proposed, while not only for that particular engagement, but they continued us for all the future engagement also. Now, if you look at if at the first phase, if we would have, I would say, thought of that if client goes, what would happen to our fees? Probably we would not have been able to take an independent view. But we made sure that let us be independent while dealing with the client in their professional matter, and that independence has been very well acknowledged and appreciated by client by asking us to remain not only for that engagement but for the continued subsequent engagement. This matter pertains to 7-8 years ago. That client is still there with us with all very good relationship. So we need not be intimidated with the client because of maybe threats of removal or non-payment of fees. We should always be independent in what we are doing. So, as I mentioned, the first and best practice to ensure independence is avoiding conflict of interest. If we are able to avoid all these type of conflicts, then possibly there could be large contribution in maintaining our independence. Second part is maybe what we look at is maintaining professional skepticism. So when we talk about professional skepticism, what does this mean? It is, I would say, sometimes what happens that when we are speaking or discussing with the client will explain something and we will expect the explanation given by the client because we should trust the client. But the golden rule is that while we should trust the other person, but trust should be backed up with verification. Because many times what may happen is that it is not that due to ill will or unlawful intention, but sometimes there could always be a difference between the understanding of an individual of the client versus the underlying document, what they speaks about, talk about. So if we just rely on that person's statement and give our views, probably we have not independently looked at the matter fully. Tomorrow, because the documents, when they are unearthed, when they are looked at, they could possibly be contrary to the facts what were explained to you. And accordingly, your view or advice may not be correct. So this independence requires us to have a professional skepticism where we trust the other person, but that trust should not be blind trust. It should be trust, which should be verifiable, verified trust, and wherein we should look at having the necessary or requisite examination of all the circumstantial and the related documents, affairs to come to a conclusion. So that is very important part of what we look at as a part of the best practice in terms of developing independence. Maybe as a part of the process, if we look at how a non-audit engagement form of chartered accountant can implement some of the sequential steps in their business to develop that independence. So maybe some of those things, first of all, could be pre-engagement steps. So when we talk about the pre-engagement steps, whenever any client is coming, so therein what we can look at is to have some independent assessment check documented. And what type of that check could be? It could be maybe financial interest of the team member or the partner who is going to work on that client. Maybe business relationship if we have, any close family relative, any employment relationship, etc. So if we have any of these type of affairs, there could be possibility that we may be practicing in a firm where there are multiple partners with multiple staff. So it could be possible that one particular client or engagement is, I would say, where that client is relative of one of the partners. It doesn't mean that firm should not take up the engagement. Engagement can be taken up by the firm, but when you filter out these pre-engagement steps, you will come to know that at that stage only, which of the partner or which of the team member could possibly have a compromised independence. If so, you can take the necessary remedial measures to make sure that person who is engaged in that engagement, that person is somewhere not having the compromised independence. Okay. What could sometimes be other situation where, let us in fact, we were representing one of the PSU's client. So that we came to know that the client came to us because their matter, it was a matter or a ruling filed before the Advanced Ruling Authority. Okay, so in that Advanced Ruling Authority, they represented this PSU. In respect of the similar matter where the other party was there, this client of PSU, they had also filed advance ruling in other state. So while this particular client was advocating for the exemption before the advance ruling authority, the opposite ruling before the advance ruling authority, which was filed by the same consultant, that was on the ground that this exemption is not available. Now, let us say as a professional, for both the parties are coming to me as client. Therefore, one of the party I am filing an advance ruling asking that this exemption is not available. How can I be fully independent when arguing for the first party that this exemption should be available? This cannot be possible at all. So in that situation, as a professional, I should voluntarily, compulsorily disclose it and should offload one of the client, because that is directly compromised to the independence. So I would say these are some of the aspects what as a firm you could possibly look at as a part of pre-engagement steps to see whether to onboard the client or not. And if onboarding the client, how can we make sure that independence is ensured in service delivery. So let us say after these pre-engagement steps, you come to know okay, there is a bit of compromised independence, and still you are accepting that engagement. Then what possibly can be done is as a part of engagement acceptance safeguard is that first of all, in fact, as a professional, when we are giving any offer letter to our client, our offer letter clearly talks about the responsibility and deliverable by us as professional, and it also clearly lays down the responsibility of the management. Why it is important? When the responsibilities of both the sides are clearly documented in the offer letter, in the proposal, in the signed EL, tomorrow you cannot be held accountable for the management responsibility of decision making, because you have very categorically mentioned, clarified, put across in your agreement with the client that this is not going to be part of your responsibility. So when you are accepting an engagement, your engagement letter should clearly exclude all the managerial role. Wherever there is a perceived compromise to independence, always look at that you have a separate team. Separate team could be the executing team member, including could be separate partners also if possible, because that would certainly lead to an independent, unbiased view for the client. Maybe a system, if yours is a very big size of the firm, some independence declaration form can also be signed up, wherein a professional or any of your team member taking up engagement declare well in advance that he is fully independent for that particular transaction. If you look at how do we make sure this during the engagement, okay. So when we are looking at during the engagement, as we mentioned, as we discussed earlier, spoke earlier, that we need to maintain the objectivity. What is the objective for which client has come? While we are serving the client, we need to make sure that all our advice are as per the law, because anything unlawful could have short-term benefit but long-term pain for the client. So there should be full objective, no subjectivity at all in your entire engagement. As we spoke earlier, during engagement, you should always avoid relying on the information prepared by yourself. Okay, because once you have prepared certain information and you are relying that only in the course of your engagement, current engagement, there could be possibility, as we spoke, that we may overlook the past mistake, what possibly could have been done, or even if, let us say, we detect that mistake, we may possibly avoid telling it to the client, fearing that client may possibly restrict or stop our relationship engagement with us. As a part of, again, the policy of organization, what we can look at is strictly restricting the gifts or hospitality or any benefit in kind from the client. So many of the firms have the policy that during even this Diwali and all those things, they do not accept any gift from any of their client or anybody. Okay. Or deliberately, as a part of practice, you could look at that if, let us say, your client is in travel business and you want to make a tour and travel, so you may always look at, okay, let us get it booked through your client so that there could be some amount of saving. But by doing that particular activity, while you may possibly get saving here, that would certainly affect your independence, because tomorrow when you would be giving any view to the client or serving to the client or quoting any fees to the client, always there would be unexpressed some favor being done by the client in the past, wherein the client would have charged you lesser than the market rate. So if we have all these type of things which could possibly tomorrow result in some quid pro quo for the client, those things can be avoided to ensure that there is an independence in client relationship. Then limit long association. So as a partner, certainly, okay, many times it may not be possible that we avoid the long association, because everybody in the practice would look at having client on continuous basis. But as a part of ensuring independence in the service delivery through the firm, certainly the team member who are serving the client, we should look at that it should not become too long association wherein one team member continue to serve client for maybe 5 years, 10 years, 20 years or so. Because having that close rapport with the client by the team member, because everything may not come to your table. Those things, while you may not have intended, but this could possibly have compromise on your independence. So we can possibly look at limiting the long-term association. As a part of conclusion of the engagement, wherein, okay, if we come across that some independence question or compromise could possibly have arisen either as a part of actual conflict or as a perceived conflict, then first of all, if let us say whatever work you have done under this engagement and tomorrow the engagement comes wherein you yourself need to review your present work done, then we may politely decline for the future engagement, citing that it could be compromised to your independence. So like that, for example, internal financial controls, we have been given an engagement to formulate the internal financial control for the entity. And tomorrow those financial controls are subjected to internal audit by myself. So there would always be a situation where I am reviewing my own suggestion in the past. It would have an independence threats. So maybe as a part of post engagement, we could look at that thing. Also, I would say there could be instances where some independence threats might have been observed. So how did we overcome all those possible threats to independence? Maybe we can document all those things to make sure that tomorrow there is no allegation against us in terms of compromise of the independence. Some of other best practices, what we can look at as a professional or the firm of professional, is periodical training on the independence. So whatever we are speaking today, these are not the theoretical part, but the things what are practiced in regular. And when you set up that example yourself, and when you periodically sensitize the team on the role, importance of independence in the organization itself, that entire thought process would get inculcated. And with that thought process, certainly I would say that continuous training, automatically it becomes part of that ecosystem wherein everybody start develop that habit of being independent in all the work what they are doing. Maybe again, if you are a bigger organization, you could possibly have a formal independence policy also inbuilt in your system, wherein that policy lays down the criteria as to what is permitted, what not to be permitted, to make sure that we do not compromise on the independent side of our professional obligations. Maybe periodical internal audit can be done on the independence. So like many of the what we call about in terms of the professional who are serving the listed clients, they are not expected to have the what you call owning the share of that client. While it is true for the assurance, it may not necessarily apply for the consulting. But if as a part of the business or as a part of our practice process, if we are able to develop this type of policy and get it periodically independently audited the same in terms of the compliance of that policy, that itself could make sure that independence is being observed in all the aspects at every stage of your professional journey. So I think it is not only the laying down of proper policies, procedure, but also a frequent sensitization wherein each one is communicated about the role of independence, how and when it can be compromised, what could be the possible adverse effect of compromising the independence, and how should one overcome whenever any threat to independence is being observed. So all those things I think could collectively make sure that ultimately we end up in delivering what is expected from us as a professional, and that is full independence in while whatever we deliver. So as a concluding remark from me, so this entire professionalism, when we talk about, it is maintained through integrity, objectivity, independence, competence, and due care, and wherein the independence is one of the fundamental pillar of this professionalism. And all these things effectively, cumulatively contribute to an ethical organization, organization with an integrity, organization wherein there is ethical behavior at all the, I would say, stages, at all the hierarchy level. And this practice will ensure long-term credibility and success in practice. You might possibly struggle in the long term. You might not possibly be rewarded financially in the short term, but take my words, with the practice what we have experienced, this all independence, ethical behavior, integrity will certainly bring success to you in terms of not only the monetary terms, but also in terms of the overall image, overall value, overall how you would be looked at in society. So that is going to be the value of independence. So with this, I think Madhukar sir is also here, and whatever I am speaking today, in fact, it would not be wrong to say that not substantial, but 100% of the things, whatever we are speaking, he has been instrumental in developing or shaping us as a professional in the form wherein we have been able to implement these practices which we are sharing with each one of us. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ashish ji. And we welcome the chair of the Committee for Members in Practice, C. Madhukar Hirikange sir. Sir, may we request you to kindly address us today. This session is very important for all the professionals who are looking forward to have that kind of scalability and those kind of and a mindset which is needed for the same. So may I request you, sir, to please address us.
You are on mute, sir.
Sorry. I have not heard the speakers except Ashish towards the end. So I may not be able to respond because we had a ethical standard board interaction today in Bangalore, and we had the chairman of the committee coming here. But the main point which I would like to say is that this whole exercise which we started was based on the point that the people, whoever have spoken till now, we have had about 15, 16 speakers till today who are speaking on what makes them unique, how they got success. And it is not through skills, it is not through knowledge. That portion we know it is there. We have looked at other than having skill, knowledge, what is it that makes people unique? What is it that defines them? What is it that makes them successful? What is it that gives them growth? And we have had so many traits coming from different people. What we have realized, whether it is in our own life or outside, is that good values, good attitudes always come with immense advantages for us. We think it's a waste of time sometimes, but it is not. When you do something good, it never disappears because there is this world is there. It is such a abundant world. Abundant world means it doesn't keep anything to itself. You do something to the world which is good, it has to give it back. But it is also the other way. When I don't do something good, it also gives us back. For example, if I am not, say, if I don't like Shilpi, for whatever reason, it is very unlikely that Shilpi will like me. She is not a goddess, neither I am a god. But when I am liking Shilpi, I acknowledge her for all the good work she is doing. I have faith in her. I have trust in her. Then what happens is that what I get back is so much of love and affection, so much of confidence in me, that even when I myself in my practice have faltered, I am also a human being, I have made mistakes. When I have faltered, I have found that the number of people who come forward to push me up is amazing. When I am doing well, nobody bothers. But when I falter, these all come back. What is it? It is the value system which we follow and the attitudes we have. The point which is there is that this is the differentiator. For example, if my success, I have to say, if it is, I was certainly very knowledgeable in indirect tax. I became one of the best in central excise procedures. But there were so many people better than me in service tax, in GST. There were so many people, so many professionals, hundreds of professionals better than me. How many of them had my value system? How many of them had my attitudes, which I openly provided? And in this whole mindset series, you will find so many. Passion will be there. Today, independence was there. I don't know what Shilpi spoke about. I don't recall. What was it, Shilpi?
Commitment.
Yeah, okay, commitment. So we have, I think you're the second speaker to speak on commitment. Devotion was there, discipline was there. We had contribution, how you can think of serving. So we have had so many wonderful speakers and all of them successful. Please understand. Even in the commercial part of it, they are successful, though it need not be so. So I would suggest that not only these series, some other series also you could follow. Are there any questions for them, Alok?
Yes, sir.
So
There are
with
a
that,
couple
I
of
will
questions.
stop so that they can take the questions. And
Yeah.
be assured, whatever questions are not taken today, Shilpi or Ashish will be sending a answer to you. And it will be sent to all the participants.
Sure, sir. So, coming to the questions that we have received, the question is, can a conflict of interest exist even when professional is fully confident that they will not be influenced? Does belief in one's neutrality have any ethical standing? So, Ashish, sir, this is a question for you.
You're on mute.
Yeah, so as I touched upon the independence part, it has two limbs. One is the independence as a state of mind, and second is the independence in the perception, being perceived as independent. So while when one is very confident that he will be fully neutral in terms of his professional advice, he could be independent from the state of mind perspective. But if there is a clear-cut visible conflict of interest, that other side where the perceived compromise to independence, that threat could always exist. So once it is, let us say, an assurance engagement or so, the bar in the code of conduct is very high, but when it is a non-assurance standard, wherein there is no legal bar to accept those engagement, but as we mentioned, there are certain ways in which we could possibly mitigate that particular thing of having the perceived compromise to independence, including some of those we spoke of were getting done through the unaffected, or I would say independent professional within the firm, or even if there is, we ourselves are serving, we need to make sure there are proper documented aspect of everything, including how did you overcome that possible compromise, because it is not only our service, our that particular thing possibly could have adverse consequences for the client if we are not able to observe full independence while we are serving.
So coming to next question, suppose one have signed an audit report, but later came to know that auditee has maintained two sets of books. In this case, how can one maintain the independence, and what can one do?
Okay, so maybe I will answer this to the extent I feel, though I have not been in the audit, but yeah, Madhukar sir is there, he would possibly give
You want me to answer?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But
There are two ways, simple. One is withdraw the audit report and intimate the right. You might have even done it with giving the unique numbers. So withdraw the audit report or disclaim it. Both can be done, and it can be done in such a way that everybody is informed and they receive your communication. This is very important. You can say, I got incorrect information and therefore the audit report which I have issued is incorrect due to the fact that the information and the evidence which was provided apparently is incorrect and insufficient for me to express that opinion. Withdraw it.
And Alokji, as we touched upon, how could we possibly mitigate these type of instances is through the professional skepticism. What we touched upon, that possibly we might have relied upon the sets of report given by the client, but may have possibly lacked in independent validation of the same. If there would have been a due professional diligence of independent validation, probably this type of situation might not have occurred. Still, if occur, then as advised by Madhukar sir, we as a professional can look at with that option.
No, we have no other option. We have to withdraw and we should send a registered post to him, and wherever else it gets filed. For example, it is getting filed in the ROC, or that particular document is being filed in the income tax. You should say this report has been issued incorrectly by me due to the following circumstance, and disclaim it anyway. You can take the next question.
Yes. When AGM elects the auditors, how the familiarity with client possible?
Sorry, come again.
Sir, it says that AGM elects the auditor. Then how the familiarity with the client is possible?
AGM relax the appointment of auditor.
Elect the auditor.
Okay. So again, when we talk about the AGM, it is ultimately AGM. When we talk about is nothing but practically the board only decides. It is not only the shareholders who are deciding. And let us say when the board itself has members who are my relative, known or familiars are there. So on the I would say on the face, it may appear that this election of the auditor has been made objectively. But certainly, if we look at that standard of independence, certainly it is a compromised independence, because in the form AGM has done, but ultimately board has done, which is nothing but a relative of mine. So there is certainly a compromise to the independence.
Coming to next question, in the present day climate of political pressure on bureaucracy and inability of judiciary to cope up with the cases promptly, is it really possible for CAs to maintain independence?
Okay, so there could certainly be excuse for everything, or the reasons can be assigned for everything. Okay, there is certainly, I would say, with all due respect, sometimes compromise to the independence at all the level, including at the judiciary level also. But what, at least in our experience, what we have seen in the office, we have never attempted to take any shortcut throughout our practice, looking at the things that in the bureaucracy or judicially things are not that fair, that great what used to be earlier. And maybe I don't count or recollect any situation where it has resulted in adverse. Okay, for there could be possibility that in short term we might have failed at the particular present level, but certainly at the higher level also something the justice is there. So one may have temptation to do something which are not permitted, taking the view that things are not fair. But as Madhukar sir told, the universe is there. As we spoke that when you are going before the regulator also, there also you need to develop your independence. Once you get, I would say, compromised on your independence, believing it to be that things are not that great in the external world, gradually you will start seeing the decline in your professional independence, which I think is not expected from all of us.
Yeah, coming to the last question. Are missed commitments a resource problem, a planning problem, or a mindset problem? And how can organizations scientifically decode this? Shilpi ma'am?
Miscommitment, sir.
Missed commitments.
Missed commitments. Can you just repeat it again? I was missed commitments, sir.
Yeah. It says that are missed commitments a resource problem? Let me just open the question once. Are missed commitments a resource problem, a planning problem, or a mindset problem? And how can organization scientifically decode this?
Okay. So here, one aspect is not clear whether you're talking about the commitments of the organization itself not being met, or it's of the individual which is not met. Even if it is of the individual, whether it's something really big or we're talking of something regularly which is happening. So as I had mentioned in my talk, to us, it looks like big things happen by doing something really big. Yes, it is achieved by doing something really big, but it's all a product of small things that have come together. So as I said, everything has to start small, giving you confidence that it can be done, and then it grows big. So that's how I look at it, rather than thinking that, okay, it's a massive problem requiring a massive solution and all those aspects. Go back to your roots and see what's happening there, why this thing is not happening, and start small and then build it up.
Thank you, madam, for answering these queries. Now, since the time is there to conclude this program, it's already been 6. I would like to thank all the participants who have joined us in this enriching evening. On behalf of Committee of Members in Practice, I extend a very heartfelt gratitude to our speakers for the day, C. Ashish Chaudhary ji and C. Shilpi Jain ji. Our guide, mentor, C.A. Madhukar Hiregange ji, the chairman of the committee, who has conceived this wonderful idea of initiating this Bridging the Mindset Gap. And before we conclude, we would like to inform that all these recordings are available on the ICI TV. You can go and look at these recordings and just provide us your feedback. The feedback link is very much available at the platform. It is very important for us to correct our course. So please do invest some time in giving us your valuable feedback. And we are thankful for your time, your attention, your commitment for coming and joining us on every Monday. So stay tuned, stay inspired. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank